Lord, I come before you today with a heart that feels the weight of workplace pressure. The demands seem endless, the expectations overwhelming, and I find myself caught in a cycle of worry about deadlines, performance, and the constant need to prove my worth. You see every moment when I check my email with dread, when my shoulders tense at the sound of my phone, when my mind races with all the tasks left undone. In these moments of anxiety, I'm reminded that you are the God who walked among laborers, who understands the value of work but also the need for rest. Help me remember that while my career matters, it doesn't define my worth in your eyes. The pressure I feel doesn't have to become the prison that holds my peace captive. I confess, Lord, that I've allowed workplace stress to infiltrate every corner of my life. It follows me home, disrupts my sleep, and steals moments that should be filled with joy. The anxiety has become a constant companion, whispering that I'm never doing enough, never measuring up, never securing my future adequately. But your word reminds me that you care for the birds of the air and the flowers of the field. How much more do you care for me? I bring these worries about performance reviews, difficult colleagues, impossible deadlines, and workplace politics to your feet. I acknowledge that I've been carrying burdens you never intended me to bear alone. The weight of trying to control outcomes that are ultimately in your hands has left me exhausted and afraid. Today, I choose to release these anxieties into your capable hands. Father, when my inbox overflows and my to-do list seems insurmountable, help me remember that you are the God of order, not chaos. When I feel inadequate compared to colleagues, remind me that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, equipped by you for the work you've called me to do. The pressure to perform perfectly has robbed me of the joy that should come from using the gifts you've given me. I've forgotten that work can be worship when done with the right heart. Restore to me the perspective that my labor matters not because of accolades or advancement, but because it's an opportunity to reflect your character in the marketplace. When criticism comes, shield my heart from taking it as a statement of my value rather than feedback about a specific task. Help me receive correction with grace and wisdom rather than defensive anxiety. Lord, I ask for your wisdom to establish healthy boundaries in my professional life. The technology that should serve me has become a master, with notifications and messages creating a constant state of alertness that my body and mind were never designed to sustain. Teach me to disconnect, to create sacred spaces where work cannot intrude. I need your guidance to know when to say yes and when to say no, when to push forward and when to rest. The culture around me celebrates burnout as a badge of honor, but you call me to a different standard. Your Son modeled stepping away from demands to pray, to rest, to connect with you even when needs pressed in from every side. Give me courage to follow his example, to prioritize my relationship with you and my well-being even when deadlines loom large. I pray for supernatural productivity during my working hours, that I might accomplish what truly matters without sacrificing my health or relationships. The anxiety I feel about time management often stems from trying to do everything rather than the right things. Help me discern the difference between urgent and important, between tasks that align with my purpose and those that merely fill time. When I feel overwhelmed by competing priorities, grant me clarity to focus on what you've actually called me to do. The pressure to multitask has fragmented my attention and increased my stress. Teach me to work with intention and presence, giving my full attention to one task at a time as an act of stewardship. I want to honor you through excellence rather than exhaustion, through faithfulness rather than frantic activity. Father, I ask for your peace to guard my heart and mind when workplace relationships become sources of anxiety. The tension of difficult conversations, the fear of conflict, the stress of misunderstandings, these interpersonal challenges often trigger my deepest insecurities. Help me see colleagues not as threats or competitors but as fellow image bearers, each with their own struggles and stories. When I feel judged or misunderstood, remind me that your opinion of me matters most. Give me words that build up rather than tear down, courage to speak truth with love, and wisdom to know when silence is the better path. The politics and posturing in professional environments can feel like navigating a minefield. Grant me integrity that doesn't shift with circumstances and confidence that isn't dependent on others' approval. Lord, I surrender my career ambitions and anxieties about professional identity to you. The pressure to climb ladders, to achieve certain titles or salary levels, to measure success by worldly standards has created a restlessness in my spirit. Redefine success for me according to your kingdom values: faithfulness, integrity, service, and love. When I'm tempted to find my worth in accomplishments or recognition, draw my heart back to the truth that I am your beloved child regardless of professional outcomes. The fear of failure or making mistakes has paralyzed me at times, preventing me from taking risks or growing through challenges. Replace this performance anxiety with trust in your redemptive power that can work even through my imperfections and limitations. Help me remember that in your economy, faithfulness matters more than flawlessness. Father, when financial anxieties compound my workplace stress, I ask for your provision and perspective. The pressure to provide, to secure my future, to meet financial obligations can drive unhealthy patterns of overwork and worry. Remind me of your faithfulness throughout Scripture, how you have always provided for your children even in desert seasons. When I'm tempted to find security in my paycheck rather than your promises, realign my trust. The fear of economic uncertainty, layoffs, or career setbacks looms large in my mind at times. Yet you remain sovereign over every aspect of my professional journey. Help me hold my position, income, and career path with open hands, trusting that your plans for me are good even when circumstances feel threatening. Give me wisdom to steward resources well while avoiding the trap of finding my identity in financial success. I pray for wisdom to navigate the blurred boundaries between work and home in this digital age. The pressure to be constantly available, to respond immediately, to prove my commitment through accessibility has intensified my anxiety and fragmented my attention. Technology that should serve as a tool has become a taskmaster, creating expectations of perpetual productivity that leave no room for rest or renewal. Help me establish rhythms that honor your design for work and rest, for engagement and withdrawal. When I feel guilty for setting limits or taking time away, remind me that even you rested on the seventh day, not from exhaustion but as a model for your creation. The example of Jesus withdrawing to quiet places despite pressing needs gives me permission to prioritize spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being. Lord, I ask for your perspective when workplace pressure tempts me toward comparison and competition. The anxiety that rises when I measure my progress against other success stories steals my contentment and unique calling. Remind me that you've given each of us different gifts, different seasons, different paths. The pressure to keep pace with colleagues or industry standards often blinds me to the specific work you've prepared for me to do. Help me celebrate other successes without diminishing my own journey. When professional jealousy or insecurity rises within me, transform those feelings into motivation to steward my own gifts well rather than coveting what others have. Your word reminds me that we are one body with many parts, each essential but different in function and form. Father, I confess the times I've allowed workplace anxiety to affect how I treat others. The stress I carry sometimes spills over into impatience, irritability, or withdrawal from relationships that matter. The pressure I feel doesn't excuse how I respond to those around me. Transform my stress responses through your Spirit, that I might extend grace even when I feel stretched thin. When workplace demands leave me emotionally depleted, fill me with supernatural reserves of kindness and self-control. The people in my life, family, friends, colleagues, deserve better than the leftovers of my energy and attention after work has taken its toll. Help me prioritize relationships over tasks, people over productivity. Remind me that at the end of my life, it will be the love I've given, not the emails I've answered, that truly matters. For those watching, there's a special ebook in our pinned comment called Don't Think, Trust and Surrender that can help ease anxiety symptoms related to workplace pressure. Remember, this complements but doesn't replace professional guidance. Lord, I ask for courage to advocate for myself in unhealthy work environments. The anxiety of confronting unreasonable expectations or toxic patterns can feel overwhelming, yet you call me to steward my well-being as a temple of your Spirit. When workplace culture glorifies overwork or devalues balance, Give me strength to model different priorities even when it's countercultural. The fear of consequences for setting boundaries sometimes keeps me trapped in unsustainable patterns. Remind me that my ultimate security rests in you, not in any human authority or organization. When I need to have difficult conversations about workload or expectations, grant me words that are both gracious and clear. Help me discern when to adapt to challenges and when to seek change, when to persevere and when to consider new directions. Your wisdom exceeds any human resource strategy or career advice. Father, I bring before you the physical manifestations of my workplace anxiety. The tension headaches, disrupted sleep, racing heart, and digestive issues that signal my body's distress. This pressure affects not just my mind but every aspect of my being. A reminder that we are fearfully and wonderfully made as integrated wholes. I ask for your healing touch on these physical symptoms, but also for wisdom to address their root causes rather than merely managing effects. When my body signals that something is wrong, help me listen with compassion rather than pushing through with determination alone. The culture around me often celebrates those who sacrifice health for achievement, but you call me to steward this body as a gift and temple. Grant me practical wisdom about nutrition, movement, rest, and medical care that supports resilience in stressful seasons. Lord, I surrender the perfectionism that intensifies my workplace anxiety. The pressure I place on myself often exceeds what others actually expect, creating unnecessary suffering through impossible standards. Help me distinguish between excellence that honors you and perfectionism that stems from fear and insecurity. When I obsess over details or rework tasks endlessly, gently redirect my focus to what truly matters. The fear of making mistakes or being exposed as inadequate drives much of my workplace stress. Remind me that your love for me doesn't depend on flawless performance, and that growth comes through learning from failures, not avoiding them. When shame whispers that I must prove my worth through perfect work, speak louder with the truth that I am already fully loved, fully accepted, and fully enough in Christ. Replace my performance-based identity with secure belonging in you. Father, I ask for discernment about when workplace pressure signals a need for change. The anxiety I feel might be pointing to misalignment between my values and environment, between my gifts and responsibilities, between my capacity and expectations. Give me wisdom to distinguish between challenges that build character and situations that cause harm. When I need to make difficult decisions about my professional path, illuminate the way forward with your guidance. The fear of making wrong career choices can paralyze me in unhealthy situations. Remind me that you can redeem any path, any decision, any season when I surrender it to you. Help me evaluate opportunities not just through the lens of advancement or security, but through alignment with purpose, well-being, and the flourishing of others. Your plans for me are good, even when the path forward isn't clear. Lord, I bring before you the specific projects and deadlines causing anxiety right now. You know each task on my list, each meeting on my calendar, each expectation weighing on my mind. I ask for supernatural focus, creativity, and efficiency as I approach this work. When I feel overwhelmed by the volume or complexity of what's before me, help me break it down into manageable steps and trust you with the outcomes. The pressure to deliver perfect results often prevents me from even starting difficult tasks. Replace procrastination born of anxiety with courage to begin imperfectly and improve iteratively. When unexpected obstacles arise or timelines shift, grant me flexibility without panic. Help me remember that while I am responsible for faithful effort, you remain sovereign over results. No deadline, no project, no professional challenge falls outside your care or capability. Father, I ask for wisdom to recognize when my workplace anxiety stems from trying to find my identity in my career. The pressure to achieve certain markers of success, titles, recognition, influence, income, can become an idol that demands constant sacrifice at the altar of productivity. Gently redirect my heart when professional accomplishments become the primary source of my self-worth. When I define myself by what I do rather than whose I am, I remain vulnerable to the shifting sands of performance and others' opinions. Anchor my identity firmly in your unchanging love and the truth that I am your workmanship, created for purposes that transcend any job description or career path. The anxiety that comes from building my life's meaning around professional success leaves me constantly insecure. Replace this shaky foundation with the bedrock truth of my adoption as your beloved child. Lord, I pray for the courage to rest in a culture that often equates busyness with importance. The pressure to always be productive, to maximize every moment, to constantly advance has robbed me of Sabbath rhythms that you designed for my flourishing. Help me embrace regular periods of disengagement from work not as luxury but as necessity, not as laziness but as obedience. When guilt accompanies my attempts to rest, remind me that stepping away from productivity doesn't diminish my value or commitment. The anxiety that rises when I'm not doing something reveals how deeply I've internalized unhealthy messages about work and worth. Teach me again the countercultural truth that rest is an act of trust, a declaration that the world continues without my constant effort because you remain sovereign. In stillness and disengagement, restore my perspective and replenish my depleted resources. Father, I ask for your presence in the mundane moments of workplace stress, the commute through traffic, the technological frustrations, the administrative burdens that pile up alongside more meaningful work. The cumulative weight of these small pressures often triggers disproportionate anxiety because they feel relentless and unavoidable. Help me find moments of grace even in these routine challenges. Opportunities to practice patience and presence rather than resentment or escape. When minor irritations compound into major stress, reset my perspective with gratitude for the privilege of meaningful work and provision. The temptation to complain about workplace inconveniences often increases my own anxiety and spreads negativity to others. Transform these trigger points into invitations to practice the fruit of your spirit: patience, kindness, and self-control, even in circumstances I cannot change. Lord, I surrender the anxiety that comes from comparing my professional journey to others or to some idealized timeline I've created. The pressure to reach certain milestones by specific ages or stages has created artificial stress that you never intended me to carry. Help me embrace my unique path and pace, trusting that your timing is perfect even when it differs from my expectations or cultural norms. When I feel behind or ahead, overlooked or overextended, remind me that you work all things together for good in your time, not mine. The fear of missing opportunities or making wrong turns can paralyze me with indecision or drive me toward paths that aren't meant for me. Grant me confidence that when I seek you first, necessary doors will open and close according to your perfect wisdom. Replace timeline anxiety with trust in your sovereign orchestration of my professional story. Father, I ask for your perspective when workplace pressure tempts me to neglect other important areas of life. The anxiety about professional performance can lead me to sacrifice relationships, health, spiritual disciplines, and personal interests on the altar of career advancement. Help me maintain proper balance, remembering that success in one domain at the expense of all others is no success at all. When work threatens to consume all my energy and attention, gently redirect my priorities to align with eternal values rather than temporal demands. The fear of falling behind professionally if I don't give everything to my career is a lie that has robbed me of fullness of life. Remind me that you came that I might have life abundantly, not just productive work, but rich relationships, meaningful worship, restorative rest, and joyful play. Help me steward all these gifts with wisdom rather than sacrificing most for the sake of one. Lord, I bring before you the specific workplace relationships that trigger anxiety. The difficult boss, the competitive colleague, the demanding client, the underperforming team member. You know each person and each dynamic that creates stress in my professional life. I ask for supernatural wisdom in navigating these relationships with both grace and appropriate boundaries. When interactions leave me drained or discouraged, help me process these emotions honestly with you rather than carrying resentment or fear into future encounters. The pressure to please everyone or to avoid conflict often leads me to compromise my well-being or values. Grant me courage to engage difficult conversations with truth and love when necessary, and discernment to know which battles matter. Transform my perspective on challenging relationships, helping me see opportunities for growth in ministry where I currently see only sources of anxiety. Father, I surrender the digital anxiety that compounds workplace pressure in our always connected culture. The expectation of immediate response, the fear of missing important communications, the stress of constant information flow has created a state of perpetual alertness that my mind and body weren't designed to sustain. Help me establish healthy boundaries with technology that allow for focused work, present relationships, and genuine rest. When notifications trigger anxiety responses, give me courage to create systems that serve my well-being rather than sacrificing peace for accessibility. The pressure to keep up with industry news, professional development, and networking opportunities creates a background anxiety about falling behind. Remind me that you call me to faithfulness in my specific assignment, not omniscience about my entire field. Grant me wisdom to curate information intake that equips without overwhelming. Lord, I ask for your guidance when workplace anxiety tempts me toward unhealthy coping mechanisms. The pressure I feel sometimes drives me toward numbing behaviors, escapism, or quick fixes that provide temporary relief but long-term harm. When stress feels overwhelming, direct me toward life-giving responses, prayer, movement, connection, creativity, rest, rather than destructive patterns. The temptation to self-medicate workplace anxiety with substances, spending, social media, or other distractions reveals my deep need for true comfort and peace that only you can provide. Help me recognize these unhealthy patterns early and turn to you instead as my refuge and strength. When professional pressure exceeds my capacity to cope in healthy ways, give me courage to seek appropriate support, spiritual counsel, professional therapy, medical care, or community. Remind me that acknowledging limits and seeking help demonstrates wisdom, not weakness. Father, now I ask for a renewed mind regarding my work. Transform my thinking about professional pressure from a source of anxiety to an opportunity for growth, from a threat to my well-being to an invitation to deeper dependence on you. The workplace challenges I face can either drive me toward fear or toward faith. Help me consistently choose the latter. When Monday mornings bring dread rather than anticipation, refresh my perspective on the privilege of purposeful work and your presence in every task. The pressure to perform perfectly has robbed me of the joy that should accompany using the gifts and opportunities you've provided. Restore to me the wonder of co-creating with you, the satisfaction of meaningful contribution, and the peace of knowing that my worth transcends my work. I choose to trust you with my career, my daily tasks, my workplace relationships, and my future. Please like and share this video if it blessed you.